the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. I am the senior pastor of New Life Christian Center located at 400 Hillcrest Avenue in Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. If you're ever in our area, we invite you to come and worship with us. Service begins at 10 a.m. every Sunday. There's parking on Hillcrest. We are the brown brick building located right on the corner of Hillcrest and Marsh Road. Service begins at 10 a.m. and we invite you to come and experience a better quality of life. If you're not in our area, of course, you can tune in every Sunday. We are live on Facebook at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are live on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at New Life Christian Center Pastor Pope. And of course, we want you to experience a better quality of life. So we want you to tune in, stay connected with us, and we invite you to stay connected with us by listening to our internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio, at WKAPfaith.com, where we play music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. And as always, we are right here with you Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank all of you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers, but before I do that, I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers we are in the midst of a FijiWater.com sponsored promo. So you go to our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, at 12 p.m. every Monday through Friday, from starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. For all of our U.S. listeners and viewers, we will be doing something for our international listeners and viewers later. We're working on something in the coming months, so we'll be doing something to include you also. But for right now, this is for all of our U.S. listeners and viewers. Tune in at WKAPfaith.com at 12 p.m. Now, we want you to be tuned in all day, every day. But 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the first 3 songs that you hear starting at 12 noon, you will list those songs. You will text them to us on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424, along with your name and your email address. One of our listeners and viewers will win a case of Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, from FijiWater.com. So you get the opportunity to do that at 12 p.m. And now you also have the opportunity, starting yesterday, you have the opportunity to do that also at 6 p.m. So you will have the opportunity to hear the first 3 songs at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time also. List those songs, text them to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424, along with your name and email address. So you now have 2 opportunities to send in The list of songs, your name, email address, one of our listeners and viewers will be selected this month to receive a case of Fiji water from FijiWater.com. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have received, you have received an opportunity for a new business project. A great opportunity, you said. However, you said the work now begins. How should you approach this endeavor? And so what I'm going to say to you is this. Anytime you have an opportunity for a new business endeavor, you have to methodically and strategically take on the project. So what that means is step by step, day by day, week by week, month by month. You have to be very methodical. You have to pace yourself. You have to strategically execute the opportunity. If you're going to pursue a new business opportunity, and this is for all of our listeners and viewers, you have to be methodical. It cannot be about responding with emotions. It cannot be acting with emotions. It cannot be trying to execute based on your emotions. You have to be methodical. You have to be strategic. You have to have a strategic plan. And then you have to have a strategic implementation strategy. So that's part of being methodical. You know, you have to have a method for going through the process. And the method is you got to take it step by step. You know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you step by step have to really go through the process of what the endeavor is going to require of you, the effort that it's going to require of you, the time that it's going to require of you. Let me go back. Effort, energy, and time. Those are the three things that you have to determine what is going to be required of you. Effort, energy, and time. And let me break those down, just so we're clear on this. So the effort you put in is the work. But that has to be part of your strategic implementation strategy. How much work is it going to require to get this business endeavor off the ground and make it successful? How much effort is involved in that? That's the first thing. The second thing is, how much energy is it going to require? Because you're going to have to pace yourself. You cannot allow yourself to become overwhelmed, or you're going to become exhausted. You're not going to be able to function or perform at a high level. So you've got to factor that in. People don't take that into consideration whenever they go into business or whenever they start a new project or a new business endeavor. You really have to determine how much energy that's going to require. And then you have to do the necessary things to maintain your level of energy. You've got to decide, how you're going to, well, first of all, how you're going to rest. You're going to have to decide, is there something you're going to have to add to your routine? For example, let's say you've been working a 10-hour day, and because you're taking on this new business endeavor, it's going to require you to put in 13, 14 hours a day. You're going to have to figure out, do you need a power nap in between the 10 hours and the additional hours you're going to have to put in? You've got to make that decision. You've got to decide how you're going to eat, what you can do differently that will enhance your health and wellness, your nutritional level, so that you can perform at a high level. You're going to have to decide how much time. So I mentioned, is it going to increase your business day 3 or 4 hours a day? Is it going to, is that manageable? Is it going to increase your business schedule 5 hours a day? You're going to have to determine that. And the reality of that is it's feasible, but once again, you've got to manage the time. So, you may have to, I'll give you a personal example. So I'm really going to find it necessary to take my business schedule and increase some time. So normally I tell everyone, there's 5 segments of business. You're going to spend 2 hours a day on each segment of business. That's 10 hours a day. And then you've got to decide, 8 hours a day of sleep, and then you got to decide what you're going to do with the other 6 hours, because that's a 24-hour day. What I'm finding now is that I'm going to have to make some changes in my own schedule. So my business day is going to have to go from, once again, been here before, but I was younger than I am now. But I'm finding that I'm either going to have to focus on each segment of business. I'm going to have to focus about 2.5 hours, because I study 3 hours a day. So, there's 5 segments. I'm essentially adding another 2.5 hours to business per day. And that's going to take me from traditionally a 10-hour business day to, that's going to put me at about 12.5 hours now per day, plus study time, which is another 3 hours, which is going to put me at a 15.5 hour day. And I want 8 hours of sleep. That's my day. And you got to realize that everything has to be timed out. You've got to realize that. And so I'm sharing that because sometimes you find it necessary to make some adjustments. You're going to have to make some adjustments in those in your life to accommodate what changes in business. So I say to you, you've got to be methodical, you've got to be strategic, and then you have to have a strategic implementation plan. So, and that's one of the reasons I'm increasing my time, is from just 2 hours in each segment of business to 2.5 hours of each segment of business, because I recognize that extra 30 minutes is going to allow me to really focus on some additional aspects of business because I'm running my father's business. The church and ministry and community development is my father's business. So I have to make some additional changes to go forward with what we're doing, and that's okay. You have to be okay with that, because things will change. And fortunately for you, you have a new business opportunity. You might have to make some changes in the way you run your schedule, but that's okay. It's necessary to be successful in what you're going to do moving forward. So to God be the glory, you've got another opportunity, because the one thing we all should want to do is maximize every opportunity to maximize our potential, so that we can maximize our success and experience the fullness of God. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. Before I do that, this segment of the broadcast is also brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you're in the market for a new high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will have the opportunity to virtually build out the type of Porsche you desire to own. And if you are in our area, you can go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Didio, General Manager of PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone assists you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own a Porsche, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, and you're just in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager. He will have an advisor schedule an appointment for you. They will pick up your vehicle at your home or office, drop off a loaner vehicle for you, and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your sister was supposed to get married this summer. However, her fiance has called off the wedding and she is devastated. You want to know, how do you help her get over and through this? Well, the one thing you are going to have to realize is that it will take time. This is someone she was planning to marry. Now, it will take time for her to get over this and get through this. What you have to remind her, first allow the emotion to settle. That's the first thing. And then remind her of this. What God joins together, no man can put asunder. No man can tear apart. But here's what you've got to remind her. There is a reason that her marriage, her pending marriage, her engagement has been called off. There's a reason for that. God knows the reason. But there is a reason. And what you have to remind her is, if this was not God's plan for her life, not God's will for her life, then she must rejoice. Someday she will rejoice. Weeping only endures for a night. Joy comes in the morning. In other words, someday she will rejoice that she didn't marry that man. Because here's the reality. It was not going to be a good marriage for her. The problem would have come that someday down the line, he would have decided, just as he called off the engagement, he would have decided to call off the marriage. Someplace down the line, he would have decided that he no longer wanted to be married, and he would have gone on his way. The problem with that would have been marriage, God willing, leads to not only a marriage, but to children being born into a family. And if he were then going to leave his wife and his family, she would then become a single parent. No matter what his role might be in the life of his children, she would have become a single mother. Divorced, but a single parent. So you have to remind her that what God has done, and you know, sometimes it takes God. We don't see the purpose of removing people from our lives, but sometimes it takes God to remove people from our lives so that we can move on. Sometimes it takes that. Sometimes God has to move, because we won't move. You know, it's the same thing with jobs. Sometimes, you know, careers and employment. Sometimes we will stay in a location where God doesn't really want us to stay, but we'll stay there because we're comfortable, we're complacent, we become stagnant, whatever the reasons. But then we have, on the other side of that coin, we have people who will leave a place when God didn't tell them to leave. Sometimes when you be still, you will see what God will do. Sometimes when you stay right where God wants you, God will move in so much a greater way than you ever anticipated him moving. So you've got to know, sometimes you just have to be still and know that he is God. But having said that, there are times you just have to trust him, that he's doing for you better than what you would do for yourself. Because the one thing you don't want is for your sister to be married to someone who has no staying power, who decided it's time to go. Now, on the other hand, if it were your sister that was creating the problem and he felt he couldn't go on, then that would have been his reason to get out. But that's not the case here. Your sister is ready to be married. She's prepared herself to be married. But God prepared her for someone else. This wasn't who God prepared her for, and that's the reason that he's called off the engagement, and that's the reason that he's called off the wedding. And even though she may be mourning that today, someday she's going to rejoice that it wasn't him that she married. She will survive this. She will not only survive this, she will get over this, through this, and thrive. And the person that God has appointed for her life will come and find her, and he will find a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything that a man could possibly need. And this segment is also brought to you by The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And both companies can be reached by going to their websites. You can reach Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. Both companies, Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com and The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers, we are in the midst of a FijiWater.com sponsored promo. So go to our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, and listen to the first 3 songs you hear starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and again at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The first 3 songs at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Text them to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424, along with your name and your email address. And then at 6 p.m., for those of you who are available at 12 p.m., you can go, and you can do both, because one of our listeners and viewers, are going to be selected to win a case of Fiji Water from FijiWater.com. At 6 p.m., the first 3 songs that you hear, list those songs by text on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424, along with your name and your email address. One of our listeners and viewers, we're not going to tell you what day, but one of our listeners and viewers will win a case of FijiWater.com. Pardon me, a Fiji Water from FijiWater.com. Go to WKAPfaith.com. We want you to tune in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at WKAPfaith.com. We play music there that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. But we are in the midst of our promo, and one of our listeners and viewers will win a case of Fiji Water from FijiWater.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated your family members are always seeking advice from you. However, when they do not take your advice, they always come to you complaining about what went wrong. You know, I've seen this before from some of our listeners and viewers, and, you know, we all have people who may come to us for advice. Just because they come to us for advice doesn't imply they're always going to take it. But you've done your part. One plants, another waters, God gets the increase. Whatever that's going to look like, whatever the outcome is going to be. See, increase doesn't always mean that it's something that's going to benefit us immediately. The increase might be that we grow in our experience. We grow in life so we increase in our knowledge and our understanding because we go through something. Your family members are going through something every time they don't take your advice. Now, you give good advice. You give sage advice, sage wisdom. You know, you've had life experiences. You know what's out there. You understand the dynamics of what's out in the world. You understand that it takes a lot to navigate life, liberty, and happiness. It takes a lot to navigate that. You understand how to navigate that. And they know you understand that. That's the reason they come to you. When they don't take your advice, it's not on you. You say they come and complain, okay, just listen. You know, you give them advice. And I say this to people all the time when people will say, you know, I have a favorite response. How's that working for you? You didn't take the advice that was given. It's not I told you so moment. Just listen and let them talk, or as you said, in your communication, complain about what went wrong. What went wrong is they didn't take good sound advice. What often goes wrong is they go then and get advice from their friends. They hear you. They want to hear what you have to say, but they don't always want to implement it. And the reason they don't always want to implement it is because what you tell them may not feel good. It may not be what they want to do. And you're telling them because you know it's in their best interest. They don't really know what's in their best interest sometimes. They're dealing with things based on what they want to feel. And then when you don't give them what they want to feel, they will then go and talk to their friends, their associates, people that they know, until they hear what they want to hear. Sometimes they'll go and get advice from people who don't know any more than they know. But if it feels good and it sounds good to them right at the moment, then that's what they'll go with. They're going to come back to you and tell you what went wrong. Just listen. Because it's not on you. You sowed the seed of wisdom. You sowed the seed and you expected that to bear fruit. If you implement this procedure, this will resolve the issue. If you implement this procedure, that will take you to the next level. You can tell people all day long. I can't tell you how many times I have given people good sound advice. And they decided, I'll do a little bit of what Pastor said, but I'm going to try some of this over here because this feels better. You know, I can get some immediate gratification. And it doesn't work out. And then they'll say, well, I don't know why that happened that way. Well, it's because you might have heard the instruction, but you didn't follow it without deviation. That's happened many times in life. But the truth of the matter is, it's not on you. Once you've given them good advice or you've given them a recommendation to follow, all they have to do is follow the recommendation, follow the advice, follow the path that you set before them. They'll get where they're going. If they want to get stuck on the path or get knocked off the path, they've got to live with the results of that. You're struggling with them complaining, but you're not just struggling with them complaining, you're struggling with the fact that they are not making progress. That bothers you, it hurts you to see them not making progress. But progress is a choice. Success is the result of their progress. So the success is also a choice. And sometimes people don't always make the right choices. We've all been there. We've all done that. Hopefully we've learned from those experiences. Today's Daily Divine Direction Broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. We invite you to come and worship with us at New Life Christian Center if you're in our area.